You're out there going out doing your thing, but now you're finally sitting down.
Yeah. You man, and you used to always give me crap about that, but it made sense afterwards. There was a point in time where I was just running so fast for myself.
Wow.
I just was like, okay, I gotta make something different happen. I've been moving so fast. I had neglected to figure out like who I was and what I wanted.
Right.
All the relationships that I had, I realized that most of them did not work out because of me.
Really?
If you don't know who you are, you can't align with the right people.
Right. You're going to find other people who don't know who they are.
Exactly.
Right.
And so you just attract more of what you are. You're just kind of going based off of like, okay, I like this person because of this, and it doesn't resonate with who you are, or you're running from yourself so much so to where you just don't want to be alone.
Wow.
Or am I here because I'm afraid of myself? You always are on a journey of just self-discovery.
Right.
You eventually align yourself with somebody that has the same vision as you.
Fully connected. All right, welcome back to the Fully Connected podcast. This is episode 5. We have a special guest, Alex Neloms, in the building today. Hi. Radio personality, actor, mother. What else am I missing?
That's really, you covered it. You covered it.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Right.
So a lot of people don't know we had a podcast.
Oh my God, yeah.
Back, it was before COVID or was it during COVID?
It was before COVID. I think it was before COVID. Everything was shut down though.
Yeah. So it was 2020, I think.
Yeah, I think so. You may be right. Yep. And we had attempted to start. We did.
It was trash.
Yeah. It was complete trash.
It was trash.
We had, the lighting was way too, it was way too hot. I remember we just burning up under it. And then
it was bad. It was bad, but it's just so cool. Like I was telling you earlier too, it's so cool seeing where you are at now.
Oh my God.
And then just everything you've been doing with Troy, doing the movies. So maybe you can tell the guests a little bit more about the movie.
Yeah.
Because you play somebody named Marley?
Yep. The filming process, man, we were filming for about 6 to 8 months, I believe.
Damn.
Yeah, so it was it was my first time ever doing something like that. And just to be a main character. And Troy giving me the opportunity was just super dope. And he had this vision for this character and was just like, hey, I want you to play Marley. And I read the script and I was like, okay, yeah, I think I can tap into it.
That's dope.
And it was just all around just a fun process to be a part of. And it was a lot of hard work. You don't realize how much goes into making an entire movie start to finish. Man. And sometimes you would go into, if Troy was like, hey, I didn't like that take, let's just go run it back. We'd redo the same scene, 3, 4, 5 times. So it was a lot of late nights, early mornings, but it was worth it.
What was the hardest part?
It was probably, during this phase, the hardest part was probably just having to live life while also filming a movie. It's life don't stop and we're doing this. And a lot of times I'd have to be at the station, 4 a.m. the next day, and we'd be filming till midnight sometimes. So I'm
that's crazy.
Running home to get some sleep and then do it all over again the next day.
That's the life of a celebrity. That's the life of a celebrity, man.
I was telling you, be careful what you wish for. It takes a lot of
crazy
management.
Did you know you would be at this stage now of success? Back when we had that first podcast in 2020, did you see all? Because you always talked about being able to manifest stuff. I feel like you really manifest that, and that's something I'm definitely proud of you.
Thank you.
But did you envision all this?
Not in the practical way, where it was okay, this is exactly what I'll be doing. But I always felt it. I felt you ever have that, you just got an itch in your spirit? You have a calling, it's I need to be doing more. And at that time, we were trying to figure that out. We were just both, we can get into these conversations. We'd be man, other people need to hear these conversations. And I knew that I loved talking and I knew that I loved learning and I had something to say. It just was how the universe was going to bring that opportunity to me.
That's crazy. So how did the universe bring the opportunity to you? How did it all start? Because I know you were with Troy and doing all the different podcasts and whatnot, but in particular when it came to the radio.
Yeah. Okay. So it's funny that you ask now, because what's been on my mind lately is just like, when you, it's so difficult not to get deep super fast. I'm trying to peel it back. Okay. Let me just give you the practical side. So what I was doing is I was hosting poetry events for Walter Gurdon, Ponder This. And I had took that over when Carla stepped down from that. So I was doing that, and I was working at Cox. I was working at a retail store at that time. So I was just kind of like doing things and I was really grinding, trying to get into, I didn't really have a specific goal or like vision. I just wanted to do more of what I love to do. So I was just like, yeah, I'll do that. Like, yeah, I'll host. I'll take that experience. Super scary stuff, but would put myself in these uncomfortable positions and was like, all right, let me see what comes of this. And then, so I met Carla through taking over that spot of hosting Ponder This. And it was like a few weeks later, she was like, hey, have you ever thought about being on the radio? And I was like, no, I've just been kind of doing like, and what's funny is that I connected to them by my friend, RJ, who just knew that I was a writer, and like that I was like, he was like, oh, like I see what you post on Instagram, so I put your name in the hat for this. And it was really just having people speak your names in rooms that you aren't in, right? They always say you need people like that.
Right. That's how, yep.
You know, because like, it was just like, and it made me realize the seeds that I plant with everybody. It was like, man, you're carrying this with you, and you actually brought me up at this time. And like, that was dope. So somebody brought up your name to Carla. Somebody brought my name up to Walter, who then introduced me to Carla. And it made me realize like, okay, thank God nobody said anything. But it's because I didn't really give anybody anything to say. I always kind of moved. Right. That's how you are. Yeah, I moved in a way that was just genuine, and it was a moment where I was able to thank myself for planting those seeds. And everyone was like, yeah, I couldn't think of a better person to fill that position. And I was like, wow, thanks guys. Wow. So then the rest is history. I mean, wow, it was life changing. It was crazy. Did you realize that they were going to keep you? I mean, I had no idea. I just went into it with no expectation, and just like everything else was like, I'm looking forward to whatever this teaches me. Man. And then there we go. What has it taught you so far? Oh, a lot about radio, but then also a lot about myself. Yes. Oh my gosh. Like that first year being on radio taught me so much. It was like a boot camp of just like self-acceptance, having to go through processes that I wasn't used to anymore. And, you know, we always used to say new levels, new devils. Way different ball game. I was like, okay, cool. I thought I knew some stuff until I got to a different level in my life. Wow. And then different lessons started coming, and I was like, yo, okay. Yeah, because see, growing is really about like unlearning what you think to be right sometimes. So you got to learn new stuff. Exactly. You know, so you got to humble your ego. Yes. Oh my gosh. Because we all have one. Yeah. You know, we do. That it was humbling. Yes. It was. So was it more like hearing yourself back on the audio? Was it more just kind of like interviews, or what was the humbling part? It was, man, let me think back. I'd say the most humbling part was realizing how much I didn't know. And this is a profession. Like, no, this is like, yeah, like, right. And I knew that, but it was like, man, like you have to work hard to get to make it sound a certain way, right? Like in communication and what we do, right? Even with this podcast, if you make it look easy, it's a lot that goes into the back of it, right? Right. So you know that you're doing you know that you're succeeding if you're making it look easy. Exactly. You know, it's like comedy. Yeah. You know? It's like people are like, oh, I can get on the radio and talk, or I could do this and talk and do this. But like the reason why it looks easy is because of everything that happened in the background. 100%. Yeah. 100%. I mean, I like that. You're definitely right. Yeah. Speaking about everything in the background, you know, kind of looking at how you got here, like, you know, obviously, you know, what would you say to somebody who was like in your situation, like now, like remember back then, like 2020, or like the times when you didn't really know like what you were going to be doing with life? Like maybe there's like some advice like you would tell like like a younger female or just a younger person trying to find their way. I would say just the universe does not discriminate against effort. I would say just pour in effort. Even if it feels like you're doing it with no goal in mind, or it feels like, oh, this isn't leading anywhere, I promise you it'll come back, and little things add up to big things, and it will eventually stack up. And I mean, nothing that I was doing was connected. It was just like, okay, I'm doing this podcast here, I'm hosting it here, I moved to Houston and paused my entire life.
Yeah, man, I forgot about that.
Yeah. Dang. And then came back and was like, I remember telling Troy, I was like, I want to go to work.
Yeah.
And
because you're doing a podcast out there, right?
No. Okay. In Houston, I was juicing.
Just trying to figure stuff out.
Listen, that was a mistake, okay?
Because, we talked about this before. We be going through the similar kind of situations in our life at the same time. So, now, even, it's just crazy. I always feel like, you were like a sister. But it's interesting, because when you went through that time in Houston, it helped you to get to where you are. Because it looked like everything was like, what's this, what's that, podcast here, podcast there. But now you see how all of it's all connected.
Yes. So it was like, even now, I call Houston a mistake, but it was really...
Houston, we got a problem.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it felt like. And then I realized, that was probably the best thing that happened to me.
Wow, really?
Yeah. It did not feel that way at that time.
Wow. Because when you came back, you were just focused.
Well, I had to take, everybody was advising me against moving there for that time. And they were just like, don't do it. But something in my spirit was like, I need something from this. I can't explain what it is, but I got what I needed and I booked my flight and I came back once it didn't work. Dang. And it really was just like, I don't know if it was just a pause. I had to take a step back from the picture and look at how valuable it is to be in the community that we're in Wichita. Right. It's moving, anywhere you go, there you are, right? So moving out there, it was like, okay, I'm in this bigger city. It looks dope. It sounds dope.
Right.
But coming back here, I was like, man, this is priceless. The community that we're in.
Yeah.
The talent that surrounds you, how close knit it is to be able to be like, man, I know this person that has this talent or this skill from 6 years ago. It's way easier, I feel like, to move up.
Is it because it's smaller and everybody knows everybody?
For sure.
Definitely.
I grew a new appreciation for that.
You're right.
Yeah, Houston was big and scary. And I definitely would try a big city again, but only when I would do it differently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think you guys ever will move?
Eventually.
Yeah.
I think I'm in a season where I really just am trying to make waves where we're at here first.
Definitely. I mean, you're making waves already.
Appreciate that.
What's the next step? Wonder what Alex has planned next.
It's so crazy because I really am I just want to be where my feet are. I want to be... I'm completely immersed in the season that I'm in.
Right.
And just allowing that to branch however it was. Because that's what brought me here is I was being present and was just like, so now that's what's coming. I mean, talking about just divine feminine and what it's like to be not only a woman in a career-dominated field, but to be a married woman. And when you have your own passions and career.
Wow.
And then to be married to a powerful man with his own ambitions.
Right.
What's that look like?
Exactly. And I know we always talked about this before, you talked about in the past, you feel like, no disrespect to the people you dated in the past, but you said you never felt like they were masculine enough for you.
Yes.
So maybe you can help some of the the guys watching. Yeah. Or even the females watching about what does it take for, a relationship to work? Because you've been in the relationship now for 3 years?
Yeah, two years. Yeah. Man,
because you came from something, you're out there kind of going out, doing your thing, but now, you're finally sitting down. Yeah.
You man, and you used to always give me crap about that, but it made sense. It made sense afterwards. There was a point in time where I was just running so fast from myself. Wow. And it wasn't until I just was like, okay, I think Houston was probably when it came to the head when I was like, okay, I gotta shake something up. I gotta make something different happen. I've been moving so fast that I had neglected to figure out who I was and what I wanted. Right. So when I came back, I was like, all right, cool. this is going to be the time that I'm going to focus.
This is the time.
Figure it out. Yeah. But there was like a lot of times, like back in all the relationships that I had, I realized that a lot of them, most of them did not work out because of me.
Really?
And it wasn't because I was the bad person or I was the villain. It was just because that person just, if you don't know who you are, you can't align with the right people.
Right. You're going to find other people who don't know who they are.
Exactly.
Right.
And so you just attract more of what you are. And you're just kind of going based off of like, okay, I like this person because of this. And it doesn't resonate with who you are. Or you're running from yourself so much so to where you just don't want to be alone.
Wow.
And that's where I was just like, okay, am I doing this because am I with you? Am I here because I really want to be and you add to my life in some way? Mm-hmm. Or am I here because I'm afraid of myself?
Damn. And
figuring that out. And then once I figured that out, I was like, let me pause and say, you never figure it out. You always are on a journey of just self-discovery.
Right.
You just go through different levels of it. Mm-hmm. And you eventually align yourself with somebody that has the same vision as you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So how did you do it? Because you talked about you were possibility, like you might have been running from yourself. You didn't want to be alone. But like obviously there might be somebody watching right now that's still doing that same cycle. Like how can they break out of that? Like,
yeah, I would say definitely start to bring awareness into your body and how you feel in certain situations. You begin to find where you have to figure out where you end and where you begin. And when you start to just pay attention, I mean, like it would just start where I would just start paying attention to what I was eating, how that made me feel. How do I feel around these certain people?
Right.
Do I like that? Then setting the boundary of just like, okay, like if I don't like this, let me stop doing this. Right. Like there'd be a time where I was like, I'm going to the clubs, I'm going out, I'm kicking it. And it's just, you're laughing at me because you used to be on my head.
Man.
You used to be like, Alex, you could go so far if you would just like stop. If you would just stop doing stuff that you know.
Did I say that?
Yeah, because you were like,
my bad.
No, I needed friends like you.
Right.
It's just you were being drowned out by, you were probably my first real friend in that season.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, because but your voice was being drowned out by all of the other negative influence that I was around.
Yeah.
So it was just like you were like screaming to this empty room.
Yeah, a lot of friends at that time. Yep.
You would say that, you'd be like, okay, who's this one? Who's this friend? And it would just be, they weren't really friends because I was being taken from.
Damn.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So what were they? Distractions.
Distractions.
Wow.
I started looking at life very, I wouldn't say black and white because I see more in color than I ever have. I would say just more, it's simple and we make it difficult.
Right.
Either the people in your life are leading you into the future that you want or they're not. It's very...
Man, that's facts.
And if you don't feel that they are, then they probably aren't. And you have to have the courage to step away from that and know that you will be able to sustain without these distractions.
It's hard, huh? Mm-hmm. It's hard.
I would tell somebody, dealing with that right now, just to little by little just start spending more time with yourself.
That's the key.
Yeah.
That's the key. So many people don't want to spend time with themselves. People don't love themselves. People don't like themselves.
No.
So it's like, I feel like you're at that point. Obviously, like you said, it's a working process every day. You're never at that final part, but I feel like definitely you're at a higher level as far as being able to be somebody who can be content with yourself.
Oh, for sure.
And so.
Yeah, it took me a minute. Like longer than I feel like.
It didn't take that long.
I feel like it took me.
It didn't take that long.
I know I'm just about to be 30 this year. I'm like, I've been fighting my whole life. Like, but it really it ain't been that long, it's okay.
It's like, I've been.
But I think it just took a second I'm trying to make it, let me see. How would I describe it? I would say that would be my only advice, is to really sit down and figure out if you like what you see around you. And if you are around people that have the future that you want.
Right.
Or that are living the life that you want.
You gotta be around people that inspire you.
Yes.
Because I feel like Carla, that's somebody who definitely inspires you now.
I love her. Yeah. I love her so much. And it's like, because she does inspire me. And she doesn't, but the thing is, she doesn't realize it. Like, her presence is very humble. Like, she's just like, I'm like, bro, what? Like, she's very, one thing I notice about her and other people that inspire me is that they are very service driven. It's like, how can I be of service?
Wow.
And
they want to be an addition.
Yes. How can I be of service? And I mean, that first year that I was learning radio, there was not a moment that she was not available to help or to,
wow.
There was nothing, it didn't take from her to give to me.
Okay.
It didn't take from her to give my name when she wanted, when she was moving to the afternoon show. It didn't take from her to inspire me or give me advice. And I think that a lot of people operate in a lack type of mindset where it's like, oh, this will take from me if I give this person this, and that's not the case.
Right. But see, when you operate in abundance, it's different.
Yes.
That's what 2024 is all about.
Absolutely. You saw the post.
I saw the post. But no, for real though, because scarcity, when you do that, then you always think like you're giving away something or you have like a limited amount of whatever it is. But it's like when you start operating from abundance, you can be able to give more.
Absolutely.
And be able to be of service to more people.
Yeah. It's literally law. Like, the more you give, the more you'll receive. And you have to have some type of faith.
Man.
Or some type of trust in order to do that.
What's the faith looking like now? I know you've read a lot. You've been reading a lot of books. You still have one of my books?
Yeah.
The Alan Watts one?
Which one?
What's it called?
Are you sure you gave me that book?
Man, it's orange.
That's cap.
It's the Psychotherapy of the East and the West.
No, you never did. You said you were going to let me borrow it.
I never did?
You never did.
Dang, I never did.
It's around here somewhere.
It's probably around here on the show.
Look, I'm still looking to borrow it.
Dang.
Okay.
But what are you reading now? Do you feel like you still have time to be able to read with everything you got going on with the newborn? And
it gets real really fast. Audible.
Yes.
That's how you get a lot of it.
Man,
a lot of it.
Definitely.
So in the car, even the commute to here was 20 minutes. And I just put on the Audible audiobook is what they're called. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you listen to now?
How to be, Think Like a Monk by Jay Shetty.
Think Like a Man?
Think Like a Monk. Don't even that was a whole freaking, Steve Harvey was crazy for that.
Steve Harvey. Yeah. I do want to know a little bit about the movie.
Okay.
Without spoiling it.
For sure.
It's like a scary movie. It's a thriller, right?
Yeah, it's like a thriller romance is how I would describe it. When
you first got the script, were you confident like, oh yeah, I can do this?
That's so hard because I'm a Leo, so I'm pretty confident about everything. I be feeling like I can do it even if I can't.
Right.
But it was nerve-wracking, I think, it was a process. It was so crazy because that was the first year that I started radio too. And it was a process of
wow, really?
Yeah.
Dang.
Oh my gosh.
It sped up quick for you.
I was being put through the ringer. Like just with it was just like with like spiritual development. And
damn.
Just having to get to know who I was in front of the camera, get to know who I was through this other person. Mm-hmm. So as I got the character, what was the funnest part about it to me was just like being able to be somebody else for a second.
Yes. Yes.
But then finding what about her resonated with me.
That's dope.
Yeah.
So what's her story, Marley?
So Marley she had just moved to town recently.
Okay.
From a bigger city.
Houston?
Not Houston, but I don't know where she's from. But she is looking for a fresh start. The mystery is a lot of the movie, so it's hard to yeah,
for sure.
But she is looking for a fresh start, and ends up falling in love with this man. She's very impressed by him, and they begin dating and starting a whole life together. And there's some secrets that she has that he doesn't realize. That's behind all the mystery.
And this is not a documentary, right?
No. There's some secrets she has, and they end up coming up later on.
Right.
And he risks his life because of it.
Damn.
And yeah.
Wow.
So.
And I'm just real curious too, because other people might be too. Like, were you and Tyler dating before you guys started filming, or was that kind of like?
Yes, we were.
Okay, because I always thought like maybe like you guys were filming and then you guys started dating, just like how it is in like movies. You see like actors.
No,
but I think that's super dope. Like you guys have a movie together.
I know, that's a dope.
thing. And then now your son, he can watch that.
I'd be like, I was pregnant with you in this scene. It was crazy because I saw I was like, oh, I'm definitely looking pregnant in this scene, and I'm like, the audience didn't pick up. Okay. Thankfully, I don't think they did, but you could definitely tell as I'm starting to. Grow in that, but we met on a podcast, and then so at the studio Vibe Wichita that Troy runs, we got to know each other there, and then he casted us both for the movie before we started dating.
Wow.
And then before we started filming, we were already dating, if that makes sense.
Right, it does.
Yeah.
So do you think Troy hooked all that up on purpose?
No.
Like he was like, I have a vision, the Drew vision. I'm connected. Like, okay, this is gonna be the.
He had advised us against it. He said,
really?
Yeah, he was like, look, okay.
Uh-oh.
This is business. Y'all don't start dating. Don't do,
Oh, for real?
He didn't say don't start dating. He just said, just chill. I'm like a little sister to him. So he's always just like, Alex, that ain't what you need right now. We focusing. We working, remember? And Tyler pulled up to one of the podcasts that I was hosting. He was a guest. Okay. And I looked at Troy and I was like, I like him. I like it. He was like, Alex, sit down. No, that's not happening. And I was like, but there was something about his presence when I saw him that made me want to get to know him more. And I was not used to that.
Right.
And I was like, man, I know. And my life it had just stopped moving so fast, right? Like I had just got back from Houston. On paper, it did not look like something I needed to be doing.
Right.
But we just were friends at first, and I got to know a lot about who he was on the podcast and asking him certain questions. And so I was like, man, I really like the type of man that you are.
That's dope.
And I think as a woman, that's how we find what is aligned for us, right? Because as a woman, you're a receiver. That's feminine, right?
Okay, yeah.
And the man is the giver, typically. So I would advise women just to observe the man that you're with as much as possible, or a man that you're looking to be with, and see if you would like to be a part of his vision.
What should women look for when they are observing?
Man, first of all, is he stable? Is he going somewhere?
That's my favorite word of the year.
Yeah, stable?
Stability, yes.
So good.
Stable.
Yes.
It's like a rock.
Yes. And if you are dating multiple men, and you go into, it's like how I could paint the picture is if you're in a house with multiple rooms, right?
Oh man, I know.
and each room is a man. And you go into one room and you like, okay, I like how it looks. Okay, this is nice. And you sit down in there for a minute and you like, I gotta get up out of here. It's not making me, it's like something about the room is just, and it could be just who he is, his habits.
Right.
Right. Like what's on the walls, like some of the ways he shows up for himself and other people. You don't like how he talks to the waiter. Just little observations like, I don't really like how he does his mama, or I don't really like how, if you don't like what kind of clothes he wears, little things.
All that stuff's important.
It is.
All that stuff is important.
They try to tell you it's not important, right?
It's really important.
It is. Because what starts off as something small becomes like the thorn in your foot, right?
Oh, yeah, just the hole gets bigger and bigger. It's like having a hole in the bed sheet.
Yeah. It's like, oh, okay, like I can ignore this for now. But then you can't lie to yourself.
Damn.
Because then that lie becomes it becomes really a big deal.
And I know people in relationships like that to this day. I have a lot of clients who are in there. They want to get out, but now they're so attached.
Yeah,
and now they might have even like a mortgage or paying the rent.
Yeah,
and now they're stuck.
Man, and that's one thing I would say. Even though I needed to sit down, that was one thing that I would not do. I would not sit somewhere that I did not resonate with. Right. I got to get up out of here. I tried it. I experienced it. I didn't want it. I got to leave. And it was before I even knew what I knew. Let me put it like this. I knew what I didn't want before I knew what I wanted.
Yeah.
So that led me to what I wanted.
Sometimes it works like that.
Yeah, you can't be afraid to get up and go if you need to.
Wow.
Because, I mean, nobody's living in your body.
So do you think that's like more of a personality trait to be able just to get up and go? Like some people can't do that. Mm-hmm. Or is that just kind of like, do you feel like everybody, you know what I mean? Like some people, they're go-getters.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And some people, they're just going to like, you know, just kind of wait around for the perfect opportunity.
Yeah.
And then I feel like that's kind of even like what people put that in their relationship too.
Yeah.
You know? So
like, is it a personality trait to be able to just like...
Just walk up and leave and just say...
Man, you know...
Go into the next room. The analogy that you put.
So that is not the healthiest way to do it, I would say. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just different for people, right? For me, eventually it got me to where I needed to be.
Right.
But I would say for some people's experiences, it may be different, right? They may have kids involved. They may not have support or family to be able to help transition them to the next phase, or
right.
It may look different for them.
For sure.
But I would say don't stay in a place that you're not resonating with, though.
Yeah, that's difficult.
If that makes sense.
It does make a lot of sense, but hopefully it makes sense for the viewers.
Yeah, for sure.
You know?
For sure.
Definitely. But I mean, you know, I'm curious more about kind of like other things about, you know, the origin story, season 1 of Alex, you know, like how did Alex get to where you are now? Because season 1 is kind of where all the everything happens. So it's like,
man,
anything you feel comfortable sharing, like you feel like that people don't know about Alex that they should know about, you know?
I would say, man, season 1 Alex was just trying to figure it out. I mean, I had my oldest son at 15.
Yeah, really.
So that was very real.
Yeah.
For a long time. Based on what it looked like for me on paper, it didn't look good. And
we gotta throw that piece of paper out, because a lot of times the paper don't look good, but look at all the opportunities.
Yeah.
When you kept on pushing forward.
For sure. Sure. Season 1 Alex wanted to perform, meaning, and I don't mean in the way that I'm doing now, but in a way like for validation.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I think that's the vulnerable part, that it's like, that's the...
Yeah.
I thought that I needed acceptance from other people. And so then that would put me in spaces that wasn't really for me, because I wanted to... How do I explain it? Like, I was saying, it wasn't until I started being confident about who I was that put me in spaces that were meant for me. Because the more that you're searching for, like... for other people outside of you to give you validation or tell you where you're supposed to be, the further down the wrong path it leads you.
That's true.
So, season 1 Alex is definitely looking at this season Alex like, okay. Like,
isn't that crazy?
It was not expected.
Isn't that crazy, man? And so then the next seasons and season like to come are gonna be like, wow, like I couldn't even envision this,
right?
Like, even for myself.
Yeah.
And so then like kind of what I'm hearing you say is pretty much just like there was a time in season 1 of your life where you just wanted this acceptance.
Yes.
You know.
Yeah.
And so
once I stopped looking for it, I eventually got it, which is ironic, right?
That's a law too.
Yeah. I stopped.
The law of reverse effort.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's in the book.
Yeah.
The book you have that you took
from me. I
don't
have that book. But like, yeah, that's in order to guarantee something to...
Right.
If you want to guarantee it never enter your sphere, if you want to guarantee that you will never have it, just chase it. Because it will always run from you.
Wow.
Chase it. Like, and once I stopped chasing, it like things were able to catch up to me.
That's crazy. Because, man.
The things that were meant for me. I was like, okay, I just had to like stop running after what I thought was for me, and then just allow the things that were meant for me to catch up.
How does somebody stop chasing? You know, we live in that society now where everybody's trying to get to the next thing.
Man, get people around you first that aren't chasing, that are really settled in who they are. And even if they are still growing, but just like that word comes back up, that are stable. That you feel like you can like...
Stable people.
Yeah, that you can anchor onto. Not to attach yourself to them, but just to really have that grounding force around you.
Because they're going to hold you accountable. They're going to be like, are you sure? Like, who's this?
Yeah.
You know?
Don't get... Yes, people are the worst, your worst enemy.
Damn.
I do not like yes people around me. I very much respect transparency. the reason I'm able to keep growing is because the people around me are not afraid to tell me like, yo, I don't think that's for you. Man. It's not looking good. Or maybe you should try this.
Who do you feel like that is now?
Definitely. In your life? I anchored myself to somebody that I feel like could co-pilot with me.
The co-pilot?
Yeah, like co-pilot. That really could. Like, so it's like I know by the person that you are, and that's why it's so important for the people that you choose to already have, especially as a woman, for the character of that man to be something that you can get behind. And I knew that being with him, I would continue to grow because he was already committed to growth.
Exactly.
You know, so I was like, okay, I like the vision that you're headed towards. You mind if I join you? Because it kind of looks like mine.
Hey,
and if we join down forces, the same path. Yes, if we join forces, I know that we'll continue to grow. And it's like polishing a rock. Like we move up against each other and we polish each other and we grow each other, and it's not always easy.
It's not. And I remember back in 2017, I remember you told me something and it stuck with me back then. And I'm just curious to see like where you are now about what you said, because you said relationships are like a business.
Yeah.
And so like, I'm curious to know like, if you still believe that, or like how did you, or when did you start believing it to be something more? Because hearing like polishing, you and Tyler are polishing up like a rock, but like, do you feel like relationship is like a business, you know? Or
yeah, definitely. Let me see. When it comes to managing the house, it does have to be like a business, right? He is the head. And a lot of times when I go to, so not only are we raising the baby we just had, but then we have my son who's about to be 14, and then we are raising his nephew who's 16. Okay. That takes some level of communication and hierarchy, right? So him being the head of the house, I will tell the kids, I'm like, look, this ain't coming from me, this coming from him, and I'm just here to tell you what's expected. And we have to sometimes run it like that. I'm like, look, I just manage the house. So we have certain expectations where it's like, okay, it takes a level of leadership to be able to how do I explain it? To be able to lead the house, right?
Absolutely.
You know, so it's like I have to trust him as a leader to be able to lead us in the right direction. Man. And then to go manage the house.
For sure.
After that.
I'm just, like I said before, like I'm just so proud to be able to see you in that role, because I know you always wanted to be able to do what you're doing now, but also too behind the scenes, like in the relationship wise, because, you know, trying to find the one is difficult, man. Yeah. And like you said earlier, sometimes we gotta find the counterfeits to understand the real people and the real stuff, man. So yeah.
And sometimes people in your life they may not be meant for a romantic connection,
right?
But something they may manifest as something.
Some other kind of addition, like you said, for sure, definitely. So some of those people that you met or friends or whatnot, they had their purpose to help you to get to where you are now.
For sure.
But you cut them off at the right
time. I am thankful for every single one of my exes. Every single one person that's
and even just like your female friends and all.
Yeah, even them too. Like I'm so thankful for them. You taught me what I didn't want.
So what do you think about like when people like for example, like we saw Drake, I mean he obviously has that song F My Ex. So it's just like maybe we shouldn't say that. Maybe we should like, man, thanks.
Thank you.
Because if you're saying F my ex, that means you haven't healed.
We need to remake a song called Thank My Ex.
Dang, that would go hard. Thank My Ex.
Yeah. Have like some kind of you know, sound bowl in the background just to really meditate you there. But
like a healing version.
Yeah.
Like have the same kind of like the same song, just sample it, but just make it like a positive. That would be that's actually a good idea. Speaking of music, I completely forgot, man. Like music was something that you really were heavy into. Like what happened?
I think it was just another path that I was trying to explore that eventually just didn't come with me.
Damn.
That's it.
That's what I forgot.
You can't do it all.
Else. Yes.
Unfortunately.
So I'm really curious about that now because I completely forgot. But yeah, you were singing. When did you realize like, man, I just want to focus on, you know, the radio or writing?
I think, shoot.
Because you were serious about it at one point.
Yeah, and I started performing. I think that's where I was just like, nah, it's not for me. Honestly, I am not a...
Really?
I think it was probably the experiences that I had performing that turned me off to it. And sometimes if something doesn't come super easy to me, I would eventually... I would be like, maybe this isn't for me.
Right.
I think I really enjoy being like, I enjoy singing, but I had to realize I don't like it as a profession. I don't want to do it for a living.
Why is that?
I don't like the things that come with it, you know, like having to be in the studio for hours and then you eventually have to sing in front of people.
Right.
And that was not for me.
But what was it about it?
It was so nerve-wracking. I did not want to fail in front of everybody, getting a note wrong. I think, okay, what happened? Let me just tell you. I was performing and the band was playing a completely different song.
No way.
Yes. And I was singing a different song at the same time.
Was that at Four Shades?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's
Was I there that day?
That was the last time I performed.
Oh, wow.
I was like, bruh.
So what song were you singing?
I think it was like a Lauryn Hill song.
And they were playing something else?
They were playing something else.
They're not on the same page?
Yeah. And I said, okay, cool.
So was that the band's fault or was that...
I don't know. But I was like, you know what? You ain't got to tell me too many more times. This ain't for me.
The universe was like, all right, you're not in line.
That part. But there's a different level of difficulty that came with the radio. I knew I was moving towards growth.
Right.
You know, I had a different type of energy towards it. So I was like, okay, I'm meant to be here because I had the resilience of like, all right, cool. Right,
because it was difficult in the beginning, like you said, it was like boot camp, but you kept going.
There was something I was like, this is resonating with me. I'm meant to be on this path.
Right.
There was a certain type of peace that rested with me with it, even though it was difficult.
Because it's your calling.
Yeah. So, but then I was just like, with that other thing, I was like, look.
But so the interesting thing, because I feel like you knew that you wanted to use your voice.
Yeah.
You just didn't know how.
Yeah.
You see? And so it's like you thought like, oh, the voice is going to be for like entertaining, singing on the stage. But now you realize, it was supposed to maybe to be doing something like what you're doing now.
Exactly.
But you were there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You were there, but it just needed to be kind of polished up.
Well, it's just like, exactly. I mean, and what you're saying makes me think of something like if you were to, like you could have multiple skills, but not all of them are meant for you to utilize.
No,
like,
it's not.
They're not all meant for you to which one resonates the most with you? And you're right. I just needed to use my voice in a different way. Right. I think that I have the skill of you could have the skill of playing basketball, but it doesn't mean it's for you.
No, it doesn't.
Something you're meant to explore.
It's tough because a lot of people have that skill, but then they won't let go to realize like, hey, like, this music thing is not really working. Like maybe try something else. But see, you have to learn how to pivot.
Yes.
You see? And that's what you did. And that's what a lot of successful people did from people like even Joe Budden, his podcast, or like other people, or Young Bird and producing from rapping. You have to know when to stop.
Yes.
And like turn.
Yeah.
You
know?
And
that goes back full circle to the relationships, right? When I was like, I was never meant to.
That's the relationships.
Yeah, well, because that's just, we can't talk about life and not talk about relationships.
Man, that's what I really honestly feel like that's the highest value.
What?
If it's other than like God, like unless somebody's not religious, but under God, I would say relationships. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Relationships with other humans. Absolutely. Or just other living things.
Yes.
Connection.
It's so...
There's nothing else higher than that. Like, other than, like, your relationship with God, like, if that's what, people...
But it's still a relationship.
It's still a relationship. Yeah. So then it's a connection.
Yes.
Like, what's your relationship like?
Absolutely. Relationships are...
With animals, nature.
Yes.
I can't think of anything that's going to be higher than that.
There isn't anything.
And when people, like, I see so many people who... Like, I had a client... the other day, man, it was actually yesterday, and he called me and he's like, man, because I haven't heard from him in like a year or so. He called me, he was like, yeah, man, I'm feeling suicidal, like I just need to talk to you before I end it all. And I'm just like, man, like, so I had to cancel some people so he could come in or whatnot. And it got down to it, just he feels disconnected, like from his family and partner, everybody. So now he gotten into drugs and whatnot. So it's like his relationships have pushed him away because of just stuff that he's done and whatnot. So it's like when people are stable emotionally is when they have a connection with another like person.
Yes.
Like a real connection.
Yes.
Like that creates emotional stability. It really does, because now we live in this world, everybody thinks they can just do it on their own. But that's a lie.
Yeah, it really is.
It's a lie.
Just to be transparent, with Braylon, my oldest, being 14, him being that is a lot of power we're putting into their hands, having the connection, like we think we're connecting them to friends in the world around them with their phones. But you have to, I think, as a parent or even as a friend or a therapist, sometimes you have to save people from themselves.
Right.
And I'm learning that with him. It's like, man, if you have all of this connection around you and you still feel alone.
Wow.
It's like you have to. Sometimes it's okay to take a step back, and that's what I'm teaching him. Like, okay, we're gonna take your phone Monday through Friday, so that you connect and you're present with what's happening right now. And then Saturday and Sunday you can have your fun, but it is a privilege to have that level of connection. Right. But you can't have meaningful connection if you're bombarded with all of this superficial connection.
That's real.
Yeah.
Does he get it?
Does he get what I'm trying to do? Yeah. Probably not.
And that's the hard part about parenting is because we have the knowledge, the life experience, but our kids, I always said the truth can't be told, it has to be realized. Mm-hmm. And so kids, they haven't realized what we already, from relationships or just saving money. Yes. Or just unplugging yourself.
Let him tell it. He don't think I know anything. I said,
we're going to bring Braylon on the show.
He be like, shoot, my mama really don't know too much. I be trying to tell her. I'm like, sir. But I remember being like that at his age. Yeah. I thought my parents didn't know a lick of nothing.
Isn't that crazy?
Yes. And now I'm like.
You just go back and tell your mom, like, man, thanks.
Me and her, our relationship, the more that I've gotten to know myself, the more that I'm able to go back to my parents and be like, wow, okay. Like, because it was like, I'm able to have. There was a season I was in when I was so interested in her story. Right. And when I got to know her story, it helped me to understand myself more. And through understanding her, because we are part of our parents. Yeah. And so I was like, man, like, okay, so that makes sense why you made this decision to do this. And then you stop blaming and stop assuming why your parents made certain decisions. And then I was like, okay, then that led me to being this way because you had to do this, but it wasn't anything. Shame doesn't need to be, attached to that. It just was a process. You were going through your process. But we adopt and we take in so much to where it's That's
crazy, man.
We carry it with us.
So does your mom know now, like, kind of like the stuff that you just said?
Yeah. Once I think it was so crazy. When I first started asking her about herself, she actually, like, started crying. Like, we don't ask our parents enough about them. Right.
One of my goals is I want to bring my mom on the podcast.
Absolutely.
Like, I want to bring my dad on the show, Yeah. That's how Jordan Peterson, he brought his dad on his podcast.
Oh, man.
His dad was old as hell. But and then we went to the show, Jordan Peterson, a couple weeks ago. How was that? Man, it was good. The funny part is, Nessa, she's never watched a full lecture of Jordan Peterson. Yeah. Okay. I always listen to the lectures. Yeah. But he rambles on. He does. And it was a Monday night. Yeah. So I saw like 8-7 clients that day. Like we were sleepy. Yeah. It was entertaining though. But we were like because he's just talking. Yeah. He's up there just talking. And it's like interesting things, but it's like
nobody's asking him questions or anything?
I think at the end, but Nez was already ready to go. So I mean,
man can't talk though.
Man, he can. It'd be interesting, but it's like his story is different because you're going up there and you're talking. It's a lot of mental energy.
Oh my gosh!
It's not like you just singing a song and then going to the next song. Yeah, he's talking nonstop.
But how does people like that always amaze me because like how does he I guess he just allows himself to.
He's a Gemini.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
He's a Gemini.
That makes so much sense.
He's a Gemini, man. They're messengers. T.D. Jakes, Trump, Kanye, Tupac, Kendrick.
That is something I found was a big part of my personality with my rising being Gemini.
Like, for real?
Yeah.
What?
My rising is Gemini, yeah.
Dang.
So
see, communication.
Yeah. I would find myself wow. I used to call myself a messenger. Like I would feel like a vessel, like just to bring information because I love learning. Right. Gosh. And sometimes that needs to be output, like it needs to be given to somebody else. But yeah, though I could see how he'd be a Gemini for sure.
So when are you going to start writing the book?
I think give me another 10 years at least.
It's going to be sooner.
Nah.
Remember you said the book of quotes?
That would be something I could do. Yeah. I thought when I think of a book, I'm thinking like an autobiography or
People's
something.
attention spans, man. I think that would be more if you did the quotes. Like I would love to do something like that too. I had an idea similar, but because you have a lot of quotes. Mm-hmm. You know, is there any like ones like that you posted recently, or like ones that you know off the top that kind of like resonate? Because
I would say one that sticks in my head a lot is "Life is short, but it's the longest thing you'll ever do."
Man,
that was that.
That's all you?
Yeah,
that's hard.
Thank you.
How'd you come up with that? Were you like just
probably just rambling like Jordan Peterson, honestly? But I just
life is short, but it's the longest thing you ever do.
Yeah,
that's hard.
Yeah, it goes by fast, but it's like if you think about it, why would you not be intentional?
Wow.
About something that you are going to be doing like if you're making a meal, it's like you're like, this is gonna take a fat minute, right? This roast gonna take at least 12 hours. Mm-hmm. You gonna make sure the ingredients is right, because by the time it gets done, I'm ready to eat. You know what I mean? It's like that's like life. Like I need to make sure I'm intentional about everything, because I will be here for a minute.
Right. That's dope though, but people don't want to be here. Some people don't want to be here
on Earth.
Yeah, some people are. I mean, at least like from my line of work, I see a lot of people who don't want to be here.
I was just thinking that you talk to a lot of people. I see
people who are just done, you know, and I get it. Like I was there at one point in my life, so it's like it's really difficult if you don't really want to be like in life. Then you just start living day by day, just instant gratification.
Yeah,
you don't really plan for the future because you could care less.
Every time
you don't want the future to come in.
I want to jump in your brain for a second, because sometimes you will go into. You will start talking, and I don't think you realize how powerful what you're saying is. Yeah, and you'll move to the next thing. And I'm just like, hold on. Sometimes I'll go blank because I'm literally still just chewing on what you said a couple seconds ago.
Yeah, feel free.
You said that you were like, okay, when people when they're trying to get somewhere else or they're not trying to be here, they'll rely on instant gratification.
Absolutely.
So how would you say that that's different from just being present? Because you could talk to somebody and they'd be like, oh, I'm just being present. I'm just living in the moment. So this
is the thing that I believe, honestly, my own personal belief. Like, I don't think it's good for us to be present anymore. I think it's about, science says the past, the present, the future is all intertangled. So I feel like you should have all those balanced. Because people who just live solely in the present, they're childish. They're kids.
You're not wrong.
They're kids, man. Like that's reckless just to be living fully in the present.
Yeah.
Because they're not thinking about tomorrow.
That's what I was doing.
You see? And so like when obviously you want to be present, like mindfulness, stuff like that, but you also want to be present. But it's like driving. Mm-hmm. You know, you want to be present in your car to be aware, look forward into the future, look in the glass or through the car, and also look at the past, look through the rear view mirror. A lot of people that I see sometimes they don't want to deal with the past because it's too painful. So they're driving a car without looking at the rear view.
Yes.
You see? And then there's some people who are, don't want to drive forward because they're scared, so they're stagnant. Man, their car. It works and it's a good car, but it's like, hey, how about you put the keys in the ignition?
Man,
it's like I'll wait 10 years to do that.
Right.
I'll wait 10 years to write that book.
Yeah. Now you coming for me, okay? Because I was really listening, and then you go, okay, cool, that's fine, I'll get you back.
You know,
but
it's like with me with the podcast too. Like it took some time because I knew I was gonna get back to it.
But you can only go as fast as you in your own path and your own timing allows you to go, right? Because it wasn't somebody else's path to start this podcast 5 years ago, and they may have did that,
right?
But it was only right for you and your path right now.
It's the timing,
right? When we try to do it before our time, you seen what we was dealing with. It wasn't. The lights was hot. We didn't have a location.
We just had like a lamp. I don't think. You know what? Yeah, it wasn't good. I mean, it had the crazy thing. It had one of those cameras back there. I just didn't know how to work it. You know, and so it was like I had the idea because I always felt like you've always articulate yourself very well.
Appreciate
and I always wanted to have like a female co-host or something, but I just wanted to try it. You know, we were bored. We didn't. It was like COVID time. We had nothing to do really.
But then that taught us about when we do start this is what we need to do. Right. This is how we need to be or go about it. But it's just that's interesting because when you are trying to press for something that you may not be ready for. Mm-hmm. you'll recognize that the materials, my bad.
You're good.
You'll recognize that the materials in your life aren't aligning to help support that yet.
Yeah, wow.
So sometimes you'll have like you'll have the tools. And may not know how to use them.
I like the materials, like you said.
Yeah, like where's the materials at? But I would just just with your perspective of who you talk to every day, because what I'm thinking about is like echo chambers and people being surrounded by people that I'm surrounded by people that are very similar to what I'm doing right now, if that makes sense. Right. So when you don't have that perspective, sometimes, like, for instance, like I'll unfollow people that don't resonate with me, or or sometimes if I decide I want to be intentional about what I disagree about, or I want to learn from somebody, then I can do that. But we get so used to being like, okay, I see this person around me, they're growing and you are surrounded by abundance and it is beautiful and it is wonderful. But sometimes you do lose sight of those of us that we're actually role modeling for and need to teach and that don't have that same wherewithal to be aware.
Wow.
I mean,
that's big though.
Am I explaining that right?
Like, I think so.
You have to, in your line of work, you probably stay in that perspective naturally because you have to.
You have to.
Yeah.
But it affects my relationship sometimes, because I think as a therapist, you have to learn how to take your hat off. Yeah. Because one of our biggest pet peeves, or at least just for me, is when people like knowing what I do, because then this is actually one of the whole ideas of the podcast, because it's like I want to be able to have the conversation, but at the same time, I'll enjoy conversation, but I don't want to have it to be like clinical, like trying to like diagnose somebody or whatnot. Yeah. So, I love conversation. Yeah. But like when it comes to like relationships, you don't want to try to be your partner's therapist. Man, you feel facts. Me? And so when you're doing that 8 hours out of the day, seeing 7 to, maybe 8 people a day, and you come home, you still have to listen to your partner. And so sometimes I struggle with that. I'm like, man, I've been listening to everybody all day. Gosh, I'm ready to talk.
Yeah, facts. Facts.
I'm listening to people all day.
Man, when we would we've been friends for so long. When we would hang out,
2015.
You'd be talking. I'd be like, look, but it would be crazy because by the time that you get done listening so much, you have so much to say. Yeah. And a lot of it is good. Like, it's not like you're just rambling. It's like, this is... Sometimes you would, okay? But like, for real, like, it's like, okay, you've learned from people all day long, from their experiences.
Right. Because one time I had a client and it reminded me of myself. And I was able to see like, wow, like, am I like that? Like, so like, it's interesting, like, talking to people all day, or even like for you, because you can interview people on the show a lot of the time.
I would say that I'm a lot more comfortable interviewing than I am to be interviewed. I am such a curious person that it's even hard for me not to then go and interview you. Right, and so
that's why I mean, you make a good co-host. Like, that's why I think Carla, definitely will, appreciate you having, because I feel like the same for me. Like, I feel more confident being the one asking the questions because I'm just curious. Yes. Just inquisitive.
It's a really great trait to have. Yeah. Is curiosity. Stay curious.
Key. Stay curious. Put that on a t-shirt. I think they got some, right?
I don't know, but we going to make them if they don't.
That's curious. I mean, that's cool. That's going to be a new...
That's curious. It's curious in here. I don't know.
Just like... That kind of sounds creepy. It's like, man... Is there anything you're curious about, like, when it comes to life? Man. Like, things like... that you feel like you're still, like, whether it be... I mean, obviously there's places you want to travel to and whatnot, but, like, what does make you feel curious about life? Because you have so many... I love
people. Yeah. I feel like everybody is like, that's
so positive to say. I love people. Oh, see, happy people just love people.
I love people so much. Like, to me, it feels like everybody, this is what got me through regular everyday jobs. I would romanticize little things, right? And I learned to do that just with like just with my coffee that I have in the morning, or my tea, right, or the book that I'm reading, or how I journal. Like, let me get a fancy pen that I like to write with. To me, meditation is in the mundane. Like, it's very like that. So that led me into loving people, to where when I was in boring retail jobs, I'd be like, man, the best part about this job, it's not teaching me anything on any type of front about who I want to be, but the people that come through the door, they're like a package waiting to be opened. Man. And so then you just get to talking to them and you're just like, man, that's incredible. Like, not, you're 60 years old. What, you're a war vet? Like, what is this? Like, okay, what did you learn from that? Like,
that's dope.
I just love opening people up like that and just being like, what's in here?
And that's why at first I was like, man, I was trying to get you to come over to the therapy world because that's exactly like kind of how it is. But see, the thing is sometimes, especially working with some kids, it's like, you see like that they're this big, beautiful package, but it's like, I don't want to open up.
Yeah.
You know, I want to be vulnerable because I'm scared last time I opened up the package, then, you know what I mean? So, like, a lot of people, that's what I feel like keeps them stuck just in life. Like, they're scared of their potential.
I think that is big. That's a big, it's a big deal, right? Because we think about, like, people being scared of their own potential and we think about people being scared of success. But sometimes it's like, if I open up to you, then what am I gonna find? We're exploring together. Are you somebody that I can trust to explore with?
Right. You
know, a lot of times it's like I'm sure you know this. Like, the root of it is trust.
It's absolute trauma.
Oh, for sure.
Trust and trauma.
Yeah.
Two T's.
Yeah.
Trauma is behind everything. Diseases, mental health, physical health, everything.
I just started therapy again. And
dope.
One of the questions that he asked me was like, well, what are some of the traumas you've experienced? And I did not realize how much sometimes you will gaslight yourself.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I'm like, is that a trauma? I don't know. Then I get to talking about it. I'm like, wow, that really affected me. That was traumatic.
Right.
And sometimes what doesn't look, what seemed traumatic on paper actually is a trauma for you.
Because I know you said like when you were in middle school, you got bullied a lot.
I did go through that, which held me back from a lot as an adult. Because you're just your childhood self and in a big version. Like, I'm just little Alex.
What was going on back then? Season 1, Alex.
Like with middle school?
Yeah.
See.
Did you go to Curtis?
No. I went to Mayberry.
Yeah. It's a tough school.
I would get all those people that bullied me. I do not know what they're doing right now, but I know I don't see them any sphere that I'm in.
Cleaning the floor.
Yes, exactly. So I would it literally would, if I can think back to that version of myself, like, it would happen for no reason, it felt like. And that's what made me scared to trust, because it was like, I didn't do anything to cause this. I didn't do anything to, like, I'm just out here trying to be me, like, authentically. In middle school, we are our most raw and authentic versions of ourselves. And middle school just so happens to be the part that ruins us sometimes.
Yeah, it's a tough time, man.
Yeah.
Because Berlin, he's 8th grade, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's
going through that right now.
Because you got the hormones, because you're really trying to figure out who you are.
Yes.
And so, like, you are around these other kids to figure out who you are.
But it's crazy because I'm trying to teach him who you are when nobody's looking is who you are.
Yeah, right.
That's your natural self. And what you have to do is you have to then manage your role in front of everybody else then. That you can't, it's a weird balance, right? You can bring that self to these other people, bring your normal, regular self, but also make sure there's a form of, not wall, but protection of, be in control of what you give, if that makes sense.
Be in control of what? So, can you give an example? Like,
for instance, I can compare this to my middle school self. We're just living unintentionally. We're just living like, hey, like, there's this childlike part of ourselves where we're supposed to be expected to be accepted, right? And it's like, oh man, like, I'm just living life and this is so great. I was a theater kid in my natural raw form.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
Wow.
I love to, like, I was in choir. I love to sing. I love to be the teacher's pet. Like, I love to, like,
that's awesome.
Just make them happy and help them. And when you're in middle school, a lot of kids look at that like, who is this? There's a lot of judgment.
Right. Like, all your teacher's pet.
Yeah.
All this stuff.
Sometimes you want to be, and that feels really uncomfortable. So then you just want to be what they want you to be.
So you don't get made fun of.
Exactly.
Wow.
And that's where you learn. I feel like that's where we learn to hide, is middle school.
Do you feel like that trauma of being bullied helped you to, like, get to where you are now?
I'm here in spite of what happened. I feel like.
But it still helped.
It helped.
So it's kind of like, hey, I'm going to show you.
Yeah.
I'm going to show y'all.
It's so funny you say that, because one of the people that it was, there over the years, I've had people reach out and be like, wow, I did not I mean, you're this and this and this, and wow, you've gotten this, and like, wow, I can't believe that, and I'm just like
what you mean? Yeah.
It's weird.
How do you feel about that, real quick? Because that's interesting though. Because like I always knew like you were eventually gonna be at a level like this, honestly. Appreciate but some people, they might be haters. Some people might be envious. You know, and I don't know like what it's like being a female, but like people say like sometimes obviously it can be harder because of those reasons. You feel like there's a lot of like, you know, envy from people in your past or even just people that you know, without saying anybody's names, that just kind of are envious of you.
I think that it's harder to pick up on envy now because I'm not looking for it. But I would say for sure it exists. Like it'll come up and it'll be, to me, it's jarring. Because I try to live like, I wouldn't say like, I just try to live like where I try to be optimistic and humble. And so it would just be like, when I come across that certain energy, I'm like, man, like that has to be a personal problem.
It sounds more like them.
Yeah. Because I know for a fact, I know myself well enough, I have not given you any energy to feel that way.
Right.
But then it makes you very, you come at it differently. Where you're just like, man, I really hope you solve that. Like, I really hope you fix that in you.
Man, that's at a whole nother level, Alex. Like you're operating a whole nother frequency. Because no, for real, because then it's like somebody who's on that lower frequency, they are gonna come from a place of those low vibration kind of stuff and envy and all that stuff. Like you've already transcended all that. So then now you realize like, okay, like, all right, I didn't do anything.
Yeah. So
then you're like, hey, I don't take anything personal.
Right.
That's the goal.
It's to be connected to everything, attached to nothing.
Fully connected.
Yeah.
Fully connected.
Absolutely.
Counseling. Fully connected podcast.
Absolutely. You know? For real. Like, but to be attached to nothing, meaning I'm not attached to your opinion of me, whether it's good or bad.
And so that's the hard part, because then it's like, hey, I'm not attached to that, but then the people we are attached to can obviously hurt us the most.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to let go of that attachment.
Absolutely.
Like, you know, son or somebody says something, your family member says something to you, that hurts.
It does hurt. And I think I went through just, once you go through enough pain of being from attachment, you realize like, you just scrape your elbow enough times. You're like, all right, cool. Like, right. You kind of, yeah. You know, you're just like, all right, cool. Like I expect this to, you don't expect it to happen, but like, for instance, like one of the people in my life that I know that can hurt me the most, I make sure that what I protect them and I protect me by boundaries. So I can teach them how to love me so that it doesn't, you know, I scrape my elbow less. And if I do scrape my elbow, I go talk to you about it. Like, hey, that kind of scraped me a little bit in a place that I've been scraped a lot of times before. Can we talk about that? Uh-oh. You know,
it's a trigger. What would you say to, like, because I see so many clients who struggle with setting boundaries. Like, what would you tell like other young women, you know, why boundaries are important, just like relationship wise and just in general?
I would say that the no that you give them is going to feel uncomfortable, but it's going to feel less uncomfortable than the resentment you have towards them later. Right. And if you love them, then the best thing that you could do for them is that boundary. Right. Just to kind of tell them like, hey, this is, yeah. That's crazy. That is the best thing you can do for them. And it's a mindset shift in so many ways. Cause I thought that by coddling or by people pleasing, that was the way to love. And in fact, it's the opposite. It's when you get some business and you get some boundaries that you start getting the love that you deserve. Wow. That's big. But you pretty much are saying like, when you set boundaries, you'll start to see what real love is. And before, like, people pleasing and all that stuff, like, that's what you thought love was. I thought it was spreading myself thin and being what everybody wanted me to be. But the reality is that you respect people more when they are who they are. And the best thing that you could do is me and the relationship that I'm in, the love expanded with the relationship that I have with Tyler, the relationship that I have with my son, Braylon. It expanded when I learned how to set boundaries. Wow, isn't that something? It did. It is something. Like I thought I began the relationship by performing, by campaigning for love. People please. Trying to gain some type of like, well, this is why I deserve to be here. And this is why I'm going to be real. Because we learned that from our childhood, like you said, middle school, trying to be accepted. Yeah. Stop chasing what it is and just let go. Absolutely. You know, because I've found that boundaries are just self-respect. Yeah. And I think it's hard to establish them when you don't respect yourself.
No, you look at it like it's selfish, you know, but it's not.
Yeah, that cliche, what, self-care or self-love isn't selfish?
I don't even really like self-care. I like self-respect, self-discipline. You can't have self-care, you can take a bubble bath. Like, you know, you can take a bubble bath and get your hair cut. Like, anybody can do that. I think that's important if you're like a workaholic for sure. But if you don't have self-discipline.
That's such a crazy caveat too, because that wasn't until I didn't start respecting myself until I started disciplining myself.
Right. But so you got to love yourself to discipline yourself, because you just discipline yourself, then it's all out of hate. Like, I'm working out because I hate myself. Or you know what
the thing
I mean?
is I agree with you, but almost in reverse. Like, I didn't start
loving yourself until you start disciplining yourself.
Absolutely.
I think the discipline comes first. Or maybe I don't want to say any of them. No, I think it can. It's more of like a circle. It's not like a hierarchy. Right. You know, first, second, third. I think it's more like it's more secular. Yeah.
And it'll kind of, you'll be more into self-love than you are into self-discipline. And sometimes that looks like, okay, I'm going to take a pause today and I'm not going to work out. I'm not going to do this. I'm going to just.
But that's real, because it's hard.
It is.
It's like, hey, if I take a pause, then everything might fall apart.
But shoot, I mean, to me, we have feminine and masculine in us all, right?
Yeah.
And to me, I think the feminine part of us, the masculine part of us is the go-getter. Like, yeah, you got to discipline, you got to get to it. So that you have to lean into that part of yourself. But the feminine is just like, I'm going to allow the universe to cradle me. I'm going to allow things to unfold the way that they need to, because I'm going to listen to myself and take this break.
How can somebody begin to do that though? When they have all this, they'll be able to listen to themselves when they have all this trauma, this pain, you know?
I mean, really, I think it's, what voice do you hear? What voice is the quietest? You know?
That's tough.
Oh my gosh. The loudest ones are the ones of your peers, your parents.
Man.
But once you wipe all that away, you're like, okay, what am I hearing? And you start listening to that, and the more you listen to it, the louder it gets for you.
Right.
Yeah.
That's big.
Yeah.
The loudest voice is not the one to listen to. Wow, man. Well, I really appreciate you coming on to the podcast, Alex. It's been real, man. I appreciate it so much.
Yeah.
You know, definitely proud of you and everything you're doing, man. But if there is one thing that you feel like the viewers should know, you know, and just closing, like maybe something you want to give them of some kind of inspiration, or just plans of what you plan on doing in the future, we'll just kind of end it on that.
I would say keep putting in the effort, even if it doesn't make any sense. Even if you don't have, if you're unsure of the outcome, just keep doing what you love to do and keep being around those that you love, and keep, you know, just being where your feet are, be present. But, man, it's hard to wrap it all up in a bow. But I will say that no matter what you see me doing, no matter what accolades you see me collect over the years or just from social media, I am still, at the end of the day, just a person. And I want to be, if you ever see me, please talk. Let's start a meaningful conversation, right?
You love conversation,
yeah. Well, I appreciate you having me, though, on the podcast.
All right, Alex. All right, until next time, guys, thanks for tuning in. Fully Connected Podcast. We out. Fully Connected.